Hello, today is February 23rd and 2022, and it's very cold outside, -1 degrees or something like that. It snowed also, and it's very uncomfortable to walk outside there. But anyway, so I read the book. Staying home, and of course Soseki, Natsume, and this is it's called Wayfarer, and in Japanese Kojin, and I don't know what the meaning of Kojin is. Kojin is like a in Chinese character kanji. It is the person who goes right somewhere. So I have no idea what the wayfarer means, but I started to read this, and it has like four chapters. The first one is friend, the second one is brother, the third one is return and after, and the fourth one is anguish. And so I started to read Friend, and it's about this family who very close knit. I think this one particular family has a parents and two brothers. Older brothers are married, and with wife living there too, and protagonist is the second, the one, and the third, there's a daughter, the younger daughter there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 people are living there in the house, and it's a very kind of a wealthy family and a very intellectual family, and as a matter of fact, I think everybody was kind of stressed out with the not the pressure, but it's expectations of I would say excel in the society, and in Japanese society. That means you really have to search for the excellence and truth and so forth. The focus is on this brother, the protagonist, the older brother, whose name is Ichiro. He's getting a little bit mentally, having a breakdown a little bit, and so in the first 2 chapters and so forth, it shows that this family dynamics that is, for me it's not too comfortable because so close, and they worry about other people in the family so much that each one is more or less like a suffering, because so closeness, and you kind of antagonize the others, and but it's, as the story goes, it's very intriguing, interesting, and fun to read. First 2 chapters, and the third chapter is very thrilling to get into. Third chapter is the return and after. Well, the second chapter is brother. So brother start to behave something very, not the usual way, but a little bit off. And so protagonist is kind of blamed on something that he didn't do, and this older brother asking well, could you do this for me? And he doesn't want to do it, but he ended up is doing this particular thing that he requested, and kind of uncomfortable to read there, but regardless, it's like an intrigue and what's going on there. Since I don't know anything about this particular book, very, very interesting to read, and very well written as well, as always, as a Soseki's fiction. Always you are in line of this certain direction, and then go into the other directions a little bit, and then so forth. And each direction is very interesting, intriguing, and you cannot stop reading. And but slowly at the brother, and he talks about this brother's condition, where everybody start to worry how this guy is behaving badly, and people worried in the family, and they concoct this trip. I think that always trip is nice to engage in when you have too much stress or something. So all the family members entice him to take a trip, but this Ichiro refused to do that because he is so busy doing study or research or whatever, and but anyway, finally, I think his older brother's colleague, university professor, convinced him to get off some, like a 2 or 3 weeks journey or the trip to the local mountainside or oceanside resort type of places, and he finally said, okay, I can go with you. And so 2 guys went on trip, but this protagonist, younger brother, asking this professor to, whatever you find about this brother conditions or whatever, could you just let me know by the letter or whatever. And so younger brother is waiting, and finally, in the last chapter, this particular letter arrived, and it's about this professor's thoughts on this brother's behavior or his mental conditions. And so it's like a, first chapter to second chapter is very, very interesting family dynamics, very enjoyable to read, and the third chapter still very enjoyable to read, but at the end, toward the end, it's completely shift the mood of this particular fiction is something completely different. So I was kind of enjoying, wow, this is one of the Soseki's fiction, which is, very, very enjoyable, and I couldn't stop, and I was reading like this, and then all of a sudden, boom, the direction changes, and it's about very, very difficult to read because it's about mental illness, and it's about this older brother's journey to get to somewhere perfect world, as him trying to achieve this particular height of the intellectual knowledge or whatever, and but he struggles and he suffers because of that. And I was reading this translators. This translator is Benjun Yu, and he's a Korean, but who studied in the United States and Japan and so forth. And he translated this book, and he has a very long introduction section, and he talks about Japanese society where Soseki was writing the fictions and so forth during the end of the Meiji era, 1910, something like that. And the atmosphere in Japan is more or less like you absorb as much as possible from Western culture. And because of that, there's a tremendous emphasis on learning the technology as well as the culture and so forth. So the Japanese people are trying to learn as much as possible, and they are delighted to learn those things. But at the same time, they suffer because their traditional values and traditional lifestyle is completely different. You know, this Japanese feudal society is completely different. You know, probably philosophy-wise, religion-wise, and this all of a sudden this technologically advanced culture coming from Western world, and they have to embrace it. And at the same time, they have this difficulty. I think because of speed, it came to the this particular era, coming all those information coming from outside. I think people who are trying to absorb as much as possible, but are maybe overwhelmed, and to go to the directions where they cannot deal with. I think this brother is a typical example of those people who cannot deal with this tremendous information and intellectualism and so forth. And so that's the focus of this particular fiction. And I feel that, yeah, that may be true, but also I felt like this is about acceptance of a mental illness. And this older brother, almost like in my, view, to read this book, it's almost like he's getting like a mental illness and schizophrenia in particular, and he tried to imagine something that doesn't exist and so forth. And family was like initially trying to help him to recover from this particular mental breakdown. But at the end, I think you ended up with just accepting this mental illness, and you have to live with this condition. This particular younger brother, who I like him very much, and he is kind of a sane people, where everybody else is kind of a little bit insane, but trying to observe things. So he couldn't deal with this family. They lived, 6 people lived in the house, even though they have a big house and comfortable living. He has to get out because of the lots of pressure from family members to get married or to deal with this little bit mentally sick brother is so difficult. So he moved out, and I thought, wow, yeah, that's nice. I think that's the way to do it. And you have to get out from the condition that you're getting a little bit sick. And so this older brother also, when he goes on to trip with this professor, he also have this sign of healing here and there, because he himself contact with the nature and joy of seeing the nature and animals and plants and all these things happened there. So there's a hope there. So that's why I see it. I think it's more or less like you happen to have this tremendous, Japanese society who is changing day by day, and but nonetheless it is very, very stressful, and you get sick. But at the end, you don't see the sickness as something that you avoid, but you kind of accept as a person's conditions as it is. And I think that's what I see, and that's how I see this one is a good book. And the person who doesn't know anything about Soseki, I don't recommend this one as a first fiction, because other Soseki is much more straightforward, enjoyable. This is a little bit jarring, because it's shift from the very interesting family dynamics story to this mental illness of the one person. There's tremendous shift of the theme, and it's kind of difficult to follow that. But if you read all these other Soseki's fiction, and this one you must read because it is again, it is very fun to read to begin with, but also it gives you that idea of a Japanese intellectual who suffers from this particular cultural phenomena during that, major restoration to the modern society. Many people suffer. Even today, I think because of the Japanese society is more or less like a conformity enforced society, and many people are working so hard and they get sick, and many people get sick, mentally sick, and so that's one of the things that you kind of learn reading this book. It is more or less like if you have so much, I would say in a sense like a stress from outside, of course you get sick, and you need to release that stress by doing more or less like a rest or doing something else. That's why I take all that.